Yeah, so my name is Marlon Medina. Las Vegas is wanting to become that Hollywood 2.0.
You get frustrated because you're like, well, I did a video. How come I didn't get X amount of views?
The last thing people want is you to be like a robot. They want to like know your heart.
If you don't have a why you doing it, it doesn't matter really the industry. You just end up losing the passion.
The truth is that if you're not careful, running an agency could be one of the biggest mistakes.
Marlon. Now, so you are Hispanic last name. So are you
Yes.
background from Hispanics or?
Yeah, so my family comes from Ecuador, South America.
Nice.
And it's a beautiful place, beautiful cuisine. I haven't been there in a long time, but my wife happened to also learn the cuisine, even though she's from Europe. But she met my mom, and they love each other, and so she learned the ins and outs of cooking a lot of those plates.
Wow. Wow. When did you
Yeah.
start on the film industry?
Yeah, you know what? That sort of became organic thing on its own.
Yeah.
I was more so on the advertising and marketing side, not so much the creative film side, and that was in 2017, and that's when I founded my agency, Golden Medina Services. But then over time, you know, as the industry started demanding more video, more creative needs, I started just dabbling a little bit, getting more involved. Initially just with contracting out other creatives and making sure that they could deliver what my clients wanted, which was some nice short form videos, all focused on product or on service. And then over time, just as the years went by, we started making longer form content, more full scale commercials, more things that needed that media and production side.
Mhm.
And that kind of just inspired it to me to just build it in-house, right? If I'm already churning out a lot of money to have all these different media professionals who I think are great and are doing wonderful jobs, why not have them be part of the team? Why not, you know, help them expand? So that's kind of where it started.
Are you doing like any movies, documentaries, or you really kind of more focusing on the short version or more kind of like YouTube style?
Yeah, that's a great question. The answer is a little bit of both.
Okay.
So we, apart from my agency, I also have another brand that's called The Real Fleet. And the purpose of this brand is to build Las Vegas filmmakers. So people that specifically want to go into building movies. And this was created with the idea that Las Vegas is wanting to become that Hollywood 2.0, is wanting to bring in a lot of this talent. And so this division is founded by me and my partner, Lee Cummings, who is a filmmaker. And we train these youth to be able to do short films and eventually do their own feature-length films, many of which have actually done their own films, have been awarded in local film festivals.
Huh.
So that is part of what we do for the entertainment space. With that being said, it's kind of a new baby still, and I call it new, but it's been around for almost 3 years now.
Wow.
But as that is under development, really, my main agency which focuses on making commercials, and maybe I would say the longest thing we'll make is probably about 30 minutes max. And I know that feels kind of long, but
Well, that's it. That is long.
yeah, it can, you know,
On
that-
production
that's-
side,
yeah.
yeah.
It's a lot of work, so we don't do that often. We more so keep things within, I'd say, 5 minutes or under, because we find that at least in the high volume space, you know, we are positioned very close to the Las Vegas Convention Center. We have a lot of business that demands short content.
Yeah.
But that goes without saying, we are ready for long form if you need it.
Well, I guess the attention span of people nowadays,
Right.
it's like when you go to do something like a movie length, it's probably a lot more work, not only filming, but actually on the creative part. Like you really have to get people on the hook for them to actually, you know, go through and see the whole thing.
Absolutely, you know, and I think that's even one of my issues is I can't even stay that focused and locked into something so long. And that's why, you know, I am so grateful to the team that I have, because their minds work different, right? Every creative's mind works different. Some people are incredible of having this long end-to-end vision, and they can just stay in creative. I find myself sometimes, I get a little bit burnt out, and I'm like, this is 10 minutes long. It doesn't need to be 10 minutes long. But that's why, you know, I'm more on the production side. I'm more just to manage to make sure people get from A to Z. I'm not necessarily doing everything from A to Z, because you just can't do everything in your own firm. And I have over the years come to accept that there's people that I need to trust in my firm. They can take care of that. I'm just more here as the face and as a person that's managing things.
How did you get to the film industry?
It really started with being in it. So I do some on-camera stuff as well. As a teenager, I used to model. I used to be in a couple shorts here and there. You may or may not have seen I'm on some local commercials. I think one of them is with the Las Vegas Water Authority, I believe. And so you'll see me in a commercial airing about making sure that people don't overwater their plants and things like that. But so yeah, being in it, being in camera, having a marketing mind just got me thinking, well, if I'm in front of it all the time and I hang around these people that are managing this content and I run the content, why not also be in that space too? So I am marketing content. I'm in front of the camera where needed, spokesperson capacity, speaking events, things like that. And then behind the camera, really just helping on the production side.
Oh man, that's amazing. Good story. What are you thinking on the industry now that a lot of people are kind of growing towards like video filming, but it's kind of more like inspirational, right? You know, a lot of people just kind of get to it because they're like, well, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I just gotta do a couple videos, and people try to kind of get in, and then a lot of them, even ourselves, sometimes you get frustrated because you're like, well, I did a video, how come I didn't get X amount of views, or
Right.
what can I do better, you know? And I say a lot of audience, you know, they kind of found themselves there.
Right. Yeah, I think the biggest thing to combat that, and that's what I call like the burnout, right? You're working really hard, you're sprinting, and you're trying to accomplish so much in the media space. There's so many different social media platforms. It's easy to get burnt out. I think for me, what keeps me grounded as an agency, and then as a creator as well, someone that wants to raise awareness about, you know, social issues and things like that, is to make sure that you're finding a sense of purpose in it. If you're creating just to create, even if it's based on the goal of, hey, you know, I want to get monetization or stuff like that, but if there's no like greater goal behind it, I think that's where a lot of burnout happens and where a lot of needless stress happens. I feel like if people that are creating content just kind of go back to what their why is, they won't get as burnt out, and then their content will come out more authentic. And when it's more authentic, people resonate with it more, because in this age of, you know, many, I don't know, even millions of AI content pieces being generated every single day, the last thing people want is you to be like a robot. They want to like know your heart, and it's hard to translate a heart-to-heart conversation over the phone, but that's what you got to do.
I think you mentioned something important there, the why, and that really applies to any industry, because if you don't have a why you're doing it, it doesn't matter really the industry. You just end up losing the passion for like, oh, this didn't work and I'm gonna quit. Well, you know, you didn't really have then a strong purpose on doing that, because if you quit right away, then what was really the purpose?
Exactly, right? Was it just to get some views on social? Well, guess what? People get views doing anything nowadays. There's views for if you fall and you break your leg down the stairs, but you don't want to do that, right? So there's a need for why. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, no, that's totally right. What do you see in your case for the future? What are you guys going towards? What's kind of like the next 3-4 months, the next year? What are you seeing?
Yeah, you know, speaking as an agency, I think our next kind of phase is to really lock in and develop a lot of these relationships that we have been establishing recently. We have been working very hard to build relationships in the sports industry. So we've worked alongside quite a few NBA players in capturing a lot of their commercials, brand collaborations with them. And so we'd like to cement that relationship and start working with other sports brands, and become a go-to. And I think that's one of the things that is difficult for any, you know, agency here in Vegas, is to not just become a option, but become the option. right? And so that is our goal, making sure that the people that we have had the pleasure to work with love us and love the experience so much that the next time they're in town for a major convention or an activity or something, they'll remember us and they'll think, oh, those guys did a wonderful job. So I think that's the next phase, just making sure that we are cementing ourselves in that those kind of spots, those situations to just become the go-to.
Are you guys doing any ads? Like, do you run ads for people? Do you do the whole nine yards on like Google, Meta, TikTok? Average. I'm not sure if you work. I think you mentioned the sports industry, but
Yeah,
do you work directly with like business owners, like people, or let's say contractors, or somebody trying to get more clientele? Um,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, so that has been part of our journey, right? When you start an agency, especially in the time where I started in 2017, this was the time where if you would see an ad on YouTube, it would always be about, oh, running your own agency. It's the most powerful thing. You have creators like Ty Lopez and things like that are very well known and that show kind of that luxury lifestyle of running an agency. The truth is that if you're not careful, running an agency could be one of the biggest mistakes because there's so many different directions to go in, right? And so we've made our debut in many different spaces. We found out what we like, what we don't like. So to answer your question, I would say we are in about probably 70 to 80% of different marketing capacities. So that is already pretty large on its own. We can do email campaigns, we can do social media management, content creation. We can help you in your overall creative direction and kind of be a fractional marketing team, which we find that is very helpful for people that they can't necessarily afford to hire, W-2, full-time marketing department team, but maybe they need us on a quarterly basis or on a seasonal basis, depending on how their business operates. So we do cover a lot of ground, but we have learned to step back just a little bit for things that aren't necessarily what we focus in on every day. For example, let's talk about SEO. Well, as an agency owner, I'm fairly versed in it. It's not my go-to. It's not something that I live and breathe every day. Frankly, I find the whole keyword optimization thing kind of a bore for me. However, I have some really great SEO partners that I've met over the years that I highly recommend that we have relationships for. So I think that's, as an agency evolves, you have to realize that you can't be 100% everything. I mean, unless, we have Facebook money, unlimited billions of dollars, that's great. Let me make sure I hire every single person available. But for now, we're very media focused. We're very content creation focused. We're very strategy focused. And those are kind of the arenas that we like to stay in.
That's amazing, man. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. So why are you doing this? I think it's always great, when, I've been on podcasts, I've hosted podcasts. Well, what's the why?
I think it's fun, and
Yeah.
I used to do it where I go out and just try to invite somebody for a coffee or for lunch. And what I find out is, what you could do it. Sometimes it gets hard to coordinate, to meet with people and be like, okay, I'm gonna go do coffee, and then you will a coffee thing turn out to be like 2, 3, 4 hours, and you're like,
Right.
well, I don't really have that time. But at the same time, then you're not creating content, you're not recording,
Right.
you're not really maximizing the relationship. So we kind of started with this idea of a podcast, and I'm pretty sure for you, someone that's been on the industry, kind of knows how difficult it is, right, to be consistent when you try to do some sort of podcast. So we started with this idea of a podcast, and eventually it lost a little bit of traction because of consistency. So now we kind of more like, hey, we're just gonna do it on a relaxed way. So let's just meet
Right.
with people, let's just talk. Doesn't really have to be a scripted or a specific goal or something. Um, it just goes back to that idea. Let's just talk. Let's just meet with people. Let's get to see what you do. What do I do? And let's see how can we help each other. So I think that's why we started doing this. It's been a lot of fun. We got a lot of good clips, and honestly, the conversations with people, they have been a little bit more meaningful than the previous conversations, because per se, Because sometimes, like, let's say we meet over coffee and then we just start talking about business. Oh, I do this and
Right.
you do that. And usually that kind of setup is like, I'm just trying to pitch you what I do and you to pitch me what you do to see what can we get out of it, right? And then once we did on this setup, I got to see a lot of people emotional side because people start telling you their story and like, oh, I went through this and through so much pain, and then I lost this business and then I recoup it, and then here's what I felt and this is what I did better. I was like, wow, I mean, this is even a better relationship building tool than doing anything else.
Yeah.
And I guess that's been my experience.
I think this is such a great strategy because in this day and age, I mean, you're talking about Las Vegas. It's a very busy city. There's always motion, and I think for a lot of people, myself included, sometimes we get caught up in so much motion that we don't stop to even share our story. We're just like, oh well, you know what? I know like 2 or 3 people that I've told a story to, and that's enough, right? But I think like like you said, like people want to open up their heart, they're just not given the platform to do so. So I think in you providing this platform for people being able to voice, what they need to say, number one is a great sign of respect in trying to acquire, trying to do business with someone, is saying, hey, listen, I think your story is so valuable enough, we're going to put it out there. So
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
And I had the opportunity to meet with people or to do this setup with people that they never had an intention of do any video at all. So this is just traditional business owners, let's say just a construction guy, or a real estate guy, or somebody who owns a restaurant. I think we got a couple of those. They don't really are in the industry of creating content. So they're not really exposed to that. Maybe they didn't really have a desire to even do it. But because we invited them, it's like, hey, this is pretty cool. I mean, I got to talk to clients that they told me more on the podcast than what we knew about them already doing business with them. I was like, this is way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read a book. It's called Amplifying Your Influence. It's by Rene Rodriguez. He's a fantastic guy. I got to meet him when I was working in the marketing space at a mortgage company. And one of the things he says is that you have to break down people's protective stance, right? People have this sort of defense mechanism that's fight or flight. And funny enough, when you're talking business, sometimes it can trigger that fight or flight. And when people put their guard up, they only reveal what they feel safe with revealing because they're like, okay, that this guy's trying to do business with me. I'm not sure, blah, blah, blah. But I think what you're doing such a good job at is you're breaking this frame of business meeting and reworking it into something where it's like, okay, let's talk stories. And now people's defense mechanisms are down. They're able to, be more humble, be more open, be themselves, and words just start coming out.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's really a game changer because, like you say, once you kind of break the frame, people give you kind of more of them, and they go away from being a customer. They're like,
Right.
I'm your friend now, right?
Right.
We just talking. And I guess it really happens to me a lot of the positions, because when I say and I'm interviewing clients on or a traditional business model, right? I'm trying to sell a service or they inquiring about it. The conversation doesn't come up. It's more like, hey, let's just talk numbers, business, proposals. Right. And it's funny because my wife, she actually, some way, somehow, she actually does it another way. Sometimes I talk to her and she say, this guy or this girl, you just told me the whole story. And I'm like, I think it's just because the way you talk to people, she's way less formal on business. She's more like, relax, let's just talk. I mean, I don't care if you buy or not. So I think sometimes the setup matter. So a lot of people with her, they give her more details of her own life than what they do with me, but because I'm usually on that frame. Once I'm on that business mode, I think it's hard to get me out of it. Like, I'm just talking business and, right, I got on a schedule, I got to move on.
I think that's the biggest call to action for people to have women in their life.
Yeah.
I think, my wife is the same way. She'll be able to break down barriers, but she doesn't see it that way. She's not breaking down barriers. And in her mind, what she's
She's
doing is
used to
just
it.
talking
Yeah.
with her fellow friend, right? Just talking to the girls, right? Even if they're her clients, they see each other as friends. Obviously there's a client friend, boundary, but still they see each other in a more sincere way. And sometimes I envy that. And I'm like, man, I wish I could be more relaxed in that kind of setting and be more personable. And that's why I would say, as business owners, number one, if you're not having your wife involved in some kind of way, try to get her involved. I know sometimes for couples it's difficult, but listen to that insight from your spouse. And if you don't have a spouse, consider having some sort of female higher up in the organization so that she can be that empathy that is needed a lot of times in the business. That as males, right, traditionally we're very logic focused, and
Yeah.
because we want to be very logic focused, we fumble a lot of times emotionally. And I think that's where women excel. They excel in reading emotions. And so I agree 100%.
Yeah, no, man, that's amazing. And it happens a lot. She will be like, well, who so and so, they told me this. I'm like, they told you that? How did that conversation came up?
Right.
Right? And that's funny, man. Yeah, you definitely gotta have women in the business,
Right.
to be more fun, I would say.
And I think it does translate to more money, to more business. I've had situations to where my wife brings in a lead, and I'm like, so how did this lead come about? Did you, share with them the website? Did they see the portfolio? Did they do anything? I'm here thinking I'm really proud. I'm like, man, I worked on my website. We have our demo reel. It has so many different commercials all stuck in there. I can't wait for people to see them. And all the times I was like, no, she just thought I was a really nice person. She got referred to me by someone else, and we just got introduced that way, and we want to book you for this, for that, for that. And I'm like, really? And then I asked the clients when I see them in person, hey, so are you familiar with like our business or anything?
No
Like, no,
idea.
your wife is just really nice. I was like, what? So
That's
that
it.
just goes to saying, right? Character closes deals way more than stats or numbers or pretty websites or even nice videos. And that's coming from a media guy. I know that being a better personality is way better than even just creating a good video.
Relationship is everything, and
Right.
I think I don't I would say particularly for me, and I would say probably a lot of guys that kind of identify with that is uh, sometimes it's just hard to kind of build that relationship because I think a lot of guys they don't even know where to start,
Right.
how to. I don't even know sometimes where to start. I'm like, build a relationship. How do you go about that, right?
Right.
What's that? And it goes. It's so simple. Like just start talking, right?
Right.
And not necessarily about business, right? Because I think that's sometimes you get off on the wrong foot. Like you just go right away for the close. Like, hey, I do this, and if you want to buy, right? And then some other people, like your wife, they're like, oh no, let's just talk, right?
Right.
I don't care about the business. Tell me about you. Tell me about family. Tell me about your life, and that's better.
And I think if people struggle with that, as myself, as I have struggled with building that personable, I think it goes back to your why. And if you're having a tough time showing your why in your business, work with an organization that reflects that. For example, that's kind of leading into my work in nonprofits and work of Stop the Traffic is, it is something I'm passionate about. It is something that has affected, my family to a degree. And so when I started this and I started advocating and sharing this online, I was surprised at the amount of people that were connections that were in my life that I haven't talked to in years. They came to me either direct message or call like, hey, I really enjoyed that message that you shared. This is something really important to me. How can I help? Hey, whatever, if you need help with funding, if you need help with business, you need help with this, I'm here for you. I'm like, what? Like, I haven't talked to you in years. But because I shared something that's very near and dear to my heart, that is important, I think, for the city and for the world, right? We have to stop this abuse of children. People will open doors simply because you are sharing your emotional side, right? And if I was someone that wanted to be more closed off and be like, well, I don't talk about, those kind of emotional things, right? I only post about business. You're missing out on all those people that don't care about that, but they care about you. And if they care about you, guess what? They'll bring you more business. But you got to start somewhere to where you can start seeing eye to eye and really, foster that relationship.
Wow. Wow. Uh, I usually ask the guests on a specific question, and specifically, I like them to share what's kind of been the biggest struggle that you ever went through that at the end kind of turned out, or you had a great experience or a great learning moment. You're like, I figured this out because I went through this process. I'm not sure if you have. Pretty sure you have some, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if you could share with us, what has been that particular story that you think, wow, that really changed my trajectory or my mind, or I started doing better at this because I went through this.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things I'd say by far is going to be finding out that there was an abuser within the family.
Oh.
When I found that out, every business objective that I had for the year, every plan, everything, it went out the window, right? And I sat with my wife and we're like, what are we going to do about this individual? This is a dangerous person. There's multiple victims here. How can we do this, right? I'm not an attorney. She's not an attorney. There's minors involved. How can we work around this, right? There's victims in other states. There's perpetrators in another state. How can we work with law enforcement to find this? And you come and you see yourself and you reflect and you're like, you have done, talking to myself, Marlon, you have done so many deals, so many businesses, you work with so many people. Why can't you figure this out, right? This should be easy to figure out, right? If police says that this thing is illegal, we go after criminals. Why aren't you going after criminals, right? And so there was a sense of frustration, right? As a man, as a, as a brother, as a son, you feel these frustrations. And nothing will test you more than something that directly affects your family, right? I mean, if you lose a deal, you lose a deal. It's fine. I lost a deal, whatever, I'll find another customer. If you find that a member of your family is vulnerable or there's a criminal hidden amongst them, then that's just so different. So I think the way to kind of overcome that is, I don't really think there's a set formula because every case is different. But I think the way that we go about that is just deep reflection and that change of purpose, right? It became, instead of, maybe I want to reach this business goal or objective because I want to have a nice lifestyle, I want to provide for my family, which is a wonderful goal. Now it became, hey, not only do I want to have a nice lifestyle, but I want to make sure that I have enough freedom and wealth to be able to pursue justice against people that are evading justice. And so that change in purpose has allowed me to lock in ways that I never thought before. I had always seen myself as a hard worker, but I was amazed at, and I think this is where God gets involved, right? I was amazed at the speed at which I could work, trying to manage hundreds of pages of evidence, while also trying to run my business, while also trying to, be on other boards that I'm a part of and give good advice. And God just makes a difference. Yeah.
Wow. That was kind of totally unexpected, per se. You saying something like that. I think, it's one of those scenarios where basically you figured out there's lots more stuff to do aside from getting money, per se.
Exactly.
And usually that brings you a set of joy that it's not really comparable with money, per se. Because sometimes a lot of people, you see them, they get successful in business, but then they confess that they feel empty.
Right.
They're like, well, I got all this money. I got all this success. People think I'm the big deal, and I just feel miserable. And that's why you see a lot of people. Sometimes you're like, well, I don't understand what they do in that, because well, that's where they really find their passion. Because at the end of the day, it's not really about money. It's about you having a purpose and being able to use not only the money, but all the resources that you have to go towards that purpose.
Right. And I feel that a lot of times we see joy, but it's almost in a different way now. Maybe just speaking for myself for a moment. When I'm talking to people, when I'm talking to victims, and when I'm seeing them progress, even if that progression is maybe they feel 5% healed, this month than the previous month. That brings me so much joy and strength to keep going. That brings me so much more joy than, hey, you know what? We just closed a nice, 10K lead or whatever for the business. Like, I'm like, at this stage, I'm like, okay, that's great. But like, what's the why behind it? Right.
Yeah.
And I'm pursuing that why. And I think as I am, it just fills me with so much more enjoyment. And I think that because I have a stronger why now, it allows me to operate my business better. It allows me to just feel more committed when it comes to anyone that's joining my organization, because I'm investing in them. I know that my energies are very limited now because I'm undertaking so much more than I used to be. So when I am talking with someone on my team or with a client, I'm making sure, hey, I'm giving this person a lot of energy because I know they deserve it, because they're still looking to me for help.
Yeah, it goes back to this principle of being grateful. Sometimes you get to that point where if you haven't looked into places where you see people that have suffered tremendously, sometimes you get to that point or like frustration. Oh, I'm trying to hit this goal. I'm trying to be there. I'm trying to be so and so. And then you get to that point where you look and say, but even when I'm not achieving my goal per se, I look to the side. I'm like, I'm still really grateful for what I got and for who I am. Because I look at these persons and oh my God, they're totally broken, right? They're in so much pain, or the scenario, it's so crazy that you can even assimilate, like, why did that happen to this person?
Right.
And sometimes that helps humans per se, or it helps a person to feel a little bit more content with where they are. Because like, well, even that I'm not getting what I want, even that I'm not rich per se,
Yeah.
I'm grateful for being what I am.
I agree completely. We recently had a situation to where our facility where we work at, even though a lot of the work that we do is done remote, there's still a need for a facility because there are people that want to use our studio and our places and things like that. So the building that we're in got flooded last month, and we're like, oh my gosh, this sucks. But I feel that me maybe in 2024 would have been just enraged and so mad, and I still was mad, but because I was just so glued to my purpose, I was like, okay, yeah, this does suck. This is really annoying. But things are being focused. Let's look on the benefit. Let's try to coordinate these clients. Let's try to get them in the nice space. Let's make sure that everything's taken care of. And you just move on with your day. Because you find that those issues, even though there are real issues, they just don't hit the same anymore.
Yeah.
I think once you have been around people that have suffered so much, and you see, their mental capabilities aren't the same anymore. They're emotionally stunted. I mean, they can't even, a lot of these people can't even look you in the eye because they're so afraid of, a person of authority, or they're afraid of a man, or they have so much problems. So you're like, okay, if they can deal with this
Right.
and still get
This
up
is nothing.
every single day,
Yeah.
you know what? Then I can deal with an office that looks really bad for a minute, and then now it's going to look great, and now it is, fixed up. So, things pass. So I think it's just important to, like you said, be grateful.
Yeah. And I've been there sometimes. You look at my wife will be on that team. She would say, why they're not enraged? Like, that happened to them. And you're like, well, I'm pretty sure that person has deeper thoughts that really allow them to be calm on the middle of the storm because they're like, this is nothing compared to what so and so went through. So right. So I could be like, I could deal with this, and sometimes that brings you back to reality. Things don't always go the way you want in business. So sometimes you're like, oh my God, this didn't work, or I lost money, or this and that, and you have to like, it's okay. We'll go through it. We'll push through it. We change, we'll learn. But once you have that purpose,
right,
it's like, well, this is nothing. We'll get through it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think with the more you develop your purpose, and that's okay. I think like as humans, right, the purpose can change over time. It can adjust, and it's you got to be ready to welcome that, right? If you're in a trajectory and you feel that you need a higher purpose, by all means, go out and do work, do service, do things that are. And this is what I find that has been kind of fulfilling is kind of peering out a little bit outside my industry and just see what other people do, right? See what the scope of their work is. Kind of just sneak in and be like, a lot of times we work with attorneys doing their marketing, right, and their media stuff. And as we were going through all these legal hurdles, on the abuse cases, I was just grounded for a minute, and I'm like, I'm so grateful for these people, attorneys, and what they do in their space. I don't envy them. I don't want to be in their space because, man, having to deal with all those legal stuff, as I experienced, was just a nightmare. But you develop a sense of gratitude, even for other people's purpose. It's not, doesn't mean it has to be your purpose. You're like, okay, that person's purpose, I can read that. I know that's important. I don't want to have to do that purpose, but I'm grateful for what they do.
Like I said, totally unexpected topic. But really brings down to what's really important. You should have a purpose, especially if you are in business or if you're trying to grow anything at all. It won't make sense if you don't have a purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. You left me thinking. You were sharing all that, and it's can't imagine how difficult it would be for those people.
Yeah, no, it's really tough. It's really tough, especially when some of them are family victims, right? It's tough to see anyone go through that thing. But I think the thing that just keeps us grounded is that they deserve to have a long life ahead of them, and so that's why there's people that need to be in their life to tell them it's okay to feel anger. It's okay to want to move on. It's okay to want to, start a career. It's okay to do things, right? Because I think a lot of these people, they feel betrayed.
Yeah.
And when they feel betrayed, they feel that life betrayed them. And then they don't want to progress in life. And so that's why the thing is that you have to let them know, listen, there's a few people in life that let you down. That doesn't mean life in itself let you down. That doesn't mean you give up. It just means that you have to deal with that, and you have to grow as a person. So
I have found out that usually the people that are able to grow over those like terrible bad situations, and it doesn't necessarily have to be abuse.
Yeah.
But they're usually if they get the courage to get over what happened. I have seen a lot of people where they go so far because they were able to get out of that hole that now going over they're like, if I was able to get out of that hole, I could do so much more.
Yeah.
And I had seen so many stories on people on that. They're like, wow, right? Yeah. You're like, I don't even want their pain. Because you go the other way. I don't even want their success because their pain
was what helped build that success.
Right.
You're like, oh my
gosh.
Right.
That pain is like so, and you're like, it's crazy to even think about it.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of times people see I'm sure you've seen that's like the famous, like the meme that's out there. It's kind of like a statue of like this fat man, and then he's building himself, smooth and fit by hitting himself with the chisel. Yeah. And a lot of times we see like, oh, I wish that was me. And then you think for a second, well, hold on a second. Do you know how hard it would be for a chisel to hit your body nonstop? And I feel like that a lot of times that's what those people they go through, right? Life hits them so hard with a chisel, they have no choice but to become like this strong marble statue, because otherwise they're gonna break.
Yeah, usually the people
yeah,
that look the stronger is
yeah,
because they had to go through a lot of stuff.
yeah,
They're like, oh, these people are so strong. You know, they come out this and, you know, look deeper.
yeah.
Look deeper. You will find why they're like that.
Well, so, yeah, tell me about it because I know we didn't get a chance to. I didn't, I tried to go in this without knowing too much, right? So, like, what specifically your organization do and stuff?
So we have a tax and insurance agency. We focus on clients, setting them up financially, I would say.
Yeah.
So we try to cover the traditional business owners from their stages. They're opening their business, so we're able to file their LLCs and get them on a structure, get their
Okay.
bookkeeping going, how to deal with the IRS, and
Nice.
how to help a little bit money, how to save money on taxes, and how to grow their business. In all those senses, we help them with securing contracts usually that require them having some sort of structure, some sort of insurance, and that's kind of been our business focus per se. On the side of the community, we have done several seminars that we usually do for free on how to even start a business. A lot of people out there with that idea that they, usually we work mainly with the Hispanic community,
Yeah.
where they feel like it's really hard for them to even establish a business or grow it because they don't have the resources or they don't know how to deal with the language and all of that.
Yeah.
So usually in those seminars we try to break down like, okay, these are your options. You don't have to hide in a cave or not opening a business.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this is still America. You could do a lot of stuff. You could open a business even if you don't have papers, but you gotta know what you're doing, right? You gotta know where to look for the information so you don't end up on a worse place
Right.
per se. And that's kind of been our journey. Nothing really that remarkable like you were talking about. But we find a lot of passion in it because I myself on the beginning of the business, it was really hard. I couldn't really get the right information, and I think when you coming over from a immigrant family, they don't have neither the resources or the financial experience or capacity to give you good advice. So you have to rely on trial and error, doing it by yourself, or getting outside advice.
Yes.
Now, the world's so clouded with people that are giving you wrong advice or they're generalizing things that so sometimes you even get into more trouble because you're following either the wrong advice or you taking an advice that doesn't apply to you, and then you ended up worse because I seen people were like, well, they told me to do this.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that works, but not for you.
Right.
That works for somebody else, and this should have been the parameters, right? You should have been here, this, and that, and people are like, oh, well, I see, right?
Well, I think that's a great purpose because the way I see it is, if you're protecting small business, you're protecting families, and if you're protecting families, you're saving lives. Because that's the way I see it too. Because when COVID happened, so many businesses shut down, and it got me so mad because I was born and raised here, so I would drive around and be like, no way, they closed. I love that place. This place closed. They closed, and I'm like, what the heck? But then I was like, well, if people knew more about marketing, then maybe they would have still been alive, right? And so that's why I just doubled down on that thing of teaching people the importance of marketing, and just keeping me want to move forward to help small businesses, because I'm like, even if they look like very experienced, mom and pop shop, they have been around for 25 years, they're not going to be ready for the business to shut down. You're going to tell some couple that's like both 60 years old. They have never done any digital marketing. Hey, by the way, there's this thing that was called COVID. You have to shut down your business for like 2 years, but you can still do online deliveries. They're gonna look at you like, what?
Yeah,
What does
right.
that mean, right? So
Yeah.
that was, during that time, I tried to help as many businesses as I can. Obviously, many of them just never came back. But that just keeps some perspective that like you have to push it on people, even if
Yeah.
they don't want it, right? Even if they're, I understand, the expanded community, a lot of times they're like, we don't want to do this paperwork, this thing like that. But listen, if you don't do that, you have no safety net. If you have no safety net, your business is completely at risk at any time. So take the take the safe way. The safe way is like you're doing, making sure that they're incorporated, they're following this, that, because that's the only way they're going to be safer. So
Yeah, it helps. But
Yeah.
going back to marketing, it's one of those things where you really have to kind of grow into it,
yeah,
and it's so big, it's so ample what you
Yeah.
could do, and there's a lot of like new stuff like every other day, like
Yeah.
dealing with the platforms and posting and ads and this and that is like we have Aldo, we hire him, I'll say it's at about a year now, Aldo.
nice.
7-8 months.
7-8 months, right?
Almost a year.
And that's a full position. Sometimes, I mean, he can even do it by himself. We have outside help that we get to, because it's a constant. You have to be working it like day in and day out, right?
Yeah.
And refining the message, the ads, the websites, all the structure, the CRMs to get the leads and all the automatizations that you could do,
Yeah,
training the team. What you're doing, right? Because sometimes they don't know what you're doing. So you
Yeah.
have to be like, hey, we're doing this. Clients are coming in because of this. And,
Yeah.
this is how you implement it. And this is, the promotion. And it's all vast. Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Man,
This is
I'm really more
good, man.
thankful that you came.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing experience.
Well, yeah.